Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Here we are with episode 90. Very special guest tonight is Chris X. Chris X is the founder of Reptilian Records, and I was very excited to speak with Chris. I was excited because we share some similarities, I think. So Reptilian Records started off as a record store many years ago in Baltimore, Maryland, and eventually and quickly at that morphed into a record label. So if you're not familiar with me or this show and kind of what I do here or what my company Psychic Static does, that's essentially the same thing. So granted, he has obviously decades of experience behind him. I am just a newbie. I just started out a few years ago. So I have a lot to learn from this man. And I took the opportunity and I kind of like steered this conversation in that manner as a person that is interested in the music business, manufacturing and distribution of records essentially, and like supporting bands and so forth, stuff like that. That's essentially kind of, we're in it because we're fans, because we like music, right? So that's kind of how this conversation went down, and I really enjoyed it. So if you are in a band and you are kind of like, curious about labels, independent labels, how they work, what happens, what you can expect if you were to approach one about trying to get your music signed or distributed by a label, this is a good conversation for you. If you aspire to start your own record store or your own record label, this could be a good conversation for you to tune into as well. Yeah, because Chris is not necessarily here to promote anything necessarily aside from Reptilian Records. And I'm not saying that disparagingly, because Reptilian Records has been not only around for decades, but they have a massive catalog and pretty amazing stuff. I've listened to a good portion. No, actually, I guess I couldn't say that because, it's like over 160 releases so far. So I've listened to some of the records that they put out, spanning the years too. I didn't want to just listen to the most recent releases, which are excellent. I'll let you know. The most recent 5 releases are awesome, but also just going through the history, going through the catalog. And so you can find everything that Chris has released through reptilianrecords.com. And most of the stuff on the website is streaming. Like, you can listen to just about everything on the website, though whatever you cannot, I encourage you to go to SoundCloud. That's where I found pretty much everything else. So I will include links. So if you're interested in listening to anything in the catalog from any period of time, that's where you can find it. And I encourage you to do so because it's really good stuff. I encourage you to also purchase a few records, of course, because that is also very good. And just explore. So I just want to say cheers to you folks. I'm so sorry that it took so long to get this show out. The holidays really fucked me up more than I was expecting. I really had to be present and to be, participate in family life for a little while. And that meant, hang out at home, do some things that I've been putting off for quite some time. We were hosting some family, and we had to see the other half of the family and all that stuff, like everything everybody else has to do, But I had a great time. Overall, as stressful as it had become leading up to, that's usually how it is, right? Stressed out all the way up until the moment that you finally leave the house to go to the place where you have to be to see all the rest of the family, and then usually it's okay. Usually. I hope it was for you. It was for me. Hope you got some good stuff. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I hope you guys have a happy new year. It's right around the corner now. I will be back in the new year at some point. I actually don't have any specific plans as of right now. Nothing I can announce, but working on some stuff, and I will be back here shortly, I'm sure. So thank you, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I hope you have had a good and healthy, happy holiday. I know that some people really suffered. Weather was horrible. Pipes burst. Flooding happened. It was not the greatest of times, but I just hope that all of those people, anyone that had any of those conditions, we're able to persevere and still push through and have some joy out of the time anyway. And if not, hey, you know what? As long as we're still here, hopefully we can make something better out of it. So please take care of yourselves, take care of one another. We're all we got. Thank you very much, folks, and enjoy.
Hello.
Hello. Chris X, is that you?
Yes, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Well, it's nice to have you on and to meet you again. We met very, very briefly at No Coast.
Yeah, actually, when I just signed into this, I guess it showed you sitting in a studio, and I was like, I've seen that guy.
Oh, so you can see me?
I could, but
Oh, you
when I
shut it off?
joined, it asked me if I was joining with video or not, and I
Oh,
said
okay.
no. So now I can't.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. It says safe driving mode. I don't know what's going on.
It's just your phone trying to be safe. It's trying
Okay,
to, because you shouldn't be doing Zoom while you're driving, technically. So,
right. I'm not driving.
yeah, it's not that smart, goddamn phone. Yeah, man. So, I
Oh,
mean, it was nice meeting
how's
you. How did your No Coast Fest go?
That was great. No Coast was awesome. It's always been every time. I've been there every year, been a sponsor every year,
Yeah.
and yeah, every year basically a couple of bands on my label play, or at least one, if not more than one. And then every year I see a band that I'm like, "Hey guys, who's doing your next record?"
Yeah. Oh,
So
so
like the
so
first
you're there to mingle,
scouting, yes.
scouting.
If I see a band and I'm like blown away by them, or if I've checked them out beforehand, and I just want to see if they can pull it off live. Like the first year, I think I saw Super Thief play, and then I did a Super Thief record. And the second year was Chat Pile, I guess. And then the
Okay.
third year was the band Salvation. And then I talked to some bands this year too. We'll see what comes of it.
Cool. Wow. So you're like always looking for a new act.
Well, basically, I'm always looking for a new band that I like, that I want to listen to. I'm always looking for new music. That's always been my driving motivation in doing all of this. Was I was always hungry for new music to listen
Yeah.
to. So, I mean, if a band blows me away, then I would love to do a record by them. So, yeah, I guess I'm always scouting, but it's more for me.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
some record sales can show you that sometimes I put them out more for me, but
I'm feel like I'm kind of in the same boat with you, man. I mean, like, you're a music fan first and foremost, I assume, based on what you're saying.
yes.
The business prospect aspect of putting records out and having a label is kind of secondary to just, finding and supporting good music that you like.
Yeah, I've never really been a very good businessman, honestly. I mean, I could have made a whole lot of money if I did things a lot differently, but
Hmm.
I just always done it coming more from a fan point of view, or maybe a little bit of a gambler in there as well. I don't know, but
Well, it's
it's
certainly gambling. Yeah, though
yeah.
that's my experience with it.
And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things like in the early days of the label, it was just local bands that I was like, if nobody records this band, nobody's ever going to hear this, and these guys are great.
Right.
So there needs to be a document of this band, and that's how I approached a lot of bands. I was like, look, there just needs to be something, so that in 5 years, when you're all married and having kids, you can look back and play this record, and people can enjoy it for decades. So
Right, right. Well, just because you said that, how is that working out for you? I mean, you've been in the business now for putting out records for almost 20 years now, right?
uh, well, Reptilian started as a record store,
Right.
and that was November of '89. And originally, I wanted to be a record label, but I didn't exactly know how to do that.
Yeah.
um, in college, the couple of years that I went to college, I had a job working at a record distributor, and that that showed me that end of the business.
Hmm.
And then I hung out all the time at a punk rock record store. It was mid '80s, so hung out there all the time. And I was like, hey, maybe this is what I want to do instead of going to college. can you teach me how to have a record store? And he said, sure, as long as you don't do it here. So it, yeah, I started doing the record store, and immediately I wanted to be a record label. So it took me a few years, I guess, of doing a store, getting that down. And once I had that down, I was like, okay, now I'm connected with all these distributors. I might as well try putting out some records.
Right.
And
Cool.
then I sort of, because of my store, when touring bands would come through, they'd usually swing by the record store, and I'd buy some merch off them for the shop or whatever. And that's how I would meet so many bands, and then go see the shows, of course. But I was like, hey, I'm going to start my own label. You want to do a single or something? And that's pretty much how it all got started. I guess
Okay.
the first record I put out was probably local singles starting in like 93. So I've been putting out records since 93,
Right.
but the label became the prime focus after the store closed in 2010.
Oh,
So
okay. All right. All right. But I mean, but yes, I mean, so I said that you were, you've been essentially been putting out records for nearly 20 years now because you have been since 93, but that, yeah, I didn't realize that it wasn't like such a focal point for you to, make a point to put the records out to find bands and to release records. Um, but you were saying, I'm sorry, your initial motive for finding local bands and just bands that you really loved and thought, if I don't put a record out for these people, no one's ever going to hear them. So how is that
right.
working out for you now, like almost 20 years later?
A lot of those early things I probably still have a bunch of copies left, but and some probably got trashed in various moves over the years. But I always held on to at least a couple boxes of each thing, and I get pretty excited when somebody orders like a Neutrino LP, which was from like, oh, I'm gonna say it wrong, but probably 96 or 99 or something. And yeah, I get excited when people catch on to some of the old stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's cool that you still have some of it. I mean, like, I guess I'm gonna kind of like jump around here a little bit. But one of the things I was thinking about, like, as a person who's run a label for so long, um, you still have a few of these copies of some of these earlier records. In some cases, you have everything on your website still. Like everything that you still have is available through your website.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, everything that I still have copies of is on there. There might be a copy or two of something that's listed as sold out, stashed away. But if
Yeah,
I
is that
could
on
find it,
purpose? Oh,
um,
because it's
I,
just
I
hidden.
I do stash some things when I know that they're selling well and people are going to want them in the future. I'll stash like 10 copies or a handful or something.
There you
But
go.
I've also Reptilian has moved several times, so things get a little shuffled and a little buried because it's kind of like the warehouse at the end of Raiders of a Lost Ark.
Yeah. Okay.
Rows and rows of boxes of records and stuff. So
Wow. So you just like keep on putting stuff out. Like, it's not a matter of put this record out, sell out of it or get as low as we can, recoup the expense, and then put another thing out. It's just like kind of just keep on putting them out as they come.
yeah, I mean, I certainly hope and try to sell every copy of a record, but I don't hold up a new record because like I said, it's kind of a gamble sometimes. In some projects, I know that I care more about it than a lot of people will, but those are the ones where I feel like it needs to be documented that someday somebody is going to care and that people are going to be looking for this band in the future,
Hmm.
or just this band should exist so people in the future can hear it because maybe their ears will like it more than people do right now.
Right.
You know, that happens too. Some of these things catch on later.
Yeah, no, I know that. I mean, and as a person who works in with records as a record store, record label, publisher, right, publishing company as well.
Yeah.
Um, this is a question I was going to kind of save for the end, but considering we're already kind of here, how do you feel about like record flipping and the kind of the volatile, validity, what's the how do you say that word?
Volatility, maybe.
Volatility of the record collector world right now?
I kind of don't pay too close attention to it, honestly. I used to be all up in Discogs. I mean, my stuff's on there, but I don't really mess with it personally anymore. I get pretty shocked when I go to a record store and see what people are paying for things these days.
Right.
Um, like even my own records, my distributor had to talk me into my current prices. And they're like, everybody's charging 25 and you're still 20. I'm like, yeah, I
Right.
used to sell records in my store for 7.99. This drives me crazy. So,
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it's decades later, but
True. Well, I mean, the
um,
cost of making records has gone up. So
oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
there is certainly an amount of inflation that you have to kind of project for when you're selling a new record that you've made. I know it's not about making money, but at the same time, it's just like uh, I don't know. I guess there was also that thing I heard that John Dwyer said that, like, I guess they did a tour overseas, like in Japan or something, and he just wanted to sell what they had because he didn't want to ship it back with him. So he was
Right.
just like, just try to sell it cheap. It's like, well, let me just mark this down and just let's fucking get these sold. And somebody that he was on tour with, so one of the natives said to him, was just like, you can't do that. It's just like, if you mark your stuff down, people are going to think that it's cheap and not worth it, so they're not going to buy it. It's like you have to price it according to what we have our stuff listed for, you know?
Right. Well, when you're a corporation or a business that runs things by the books and you know keep track of every penny and stuff, then you do things like the nice price and knock all your stuff down to try to blow it out and all of that.
Well, yeah,
But
of
I
course.
don't run it like a business so much as a fan club for music. It's like if I have a bunch of these, if it takes me a while to sell them, sure, that kind of hurts the bottom line of money to put out more records. But I try to schedule my releases to like a sure sell and then a gamble and then a pretty sure sell and then another pretty sure sell and then a gamble. Like I try to mix them up so
Hmm.
that I know for sure that those, something will be selling pretty steady while I'm gambling with the next one that nobody's ever heard of yet. So,
Right, right. That makes sense. I mean,
but I've
I mean,
also gone into debt to put out records and borrowed money to put out a record, or ordered them to be pressed and then had to borrow money when they showed up. But
oh yeah,
that it gets paid off quickly if the
sure,
record sells. But sometimes, with putting out records and book publishing, it's a lot of money up front.
right,
That's kind of
yeah,
why I bowed out of the books and just stuck to records. Was It was so much upfront money and so much lead time. So like
really for the books.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
you're
wow,
spending so much money like 6 months before you're allowed to sell a copy. So
right, okay.
or able
Well,
to sell a
then I definitely won't get into publishing. All right.
copy.
It's good to speak with you. In this regard, I mean, I feel like we have a lot of stuff in common. I mean, you obviously are more of a veteran than I am. You've been doing this a lot longer than I have, but I feel like we have some similar kind of connections as far as what we do.
Yes. Yeah, I checked out a
Um,
few of your shows. I agree.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so let me just ask you this first of all, because it was one of the things that was in my mind. I thought I saw something about you moving to Texas. That's not true?
Oh yeah, I'm in Texas. I've been here for a while.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Um, the label started in Baltimore, Maryland, and then when the store in Baltimore closed, wasn't too much reason to stay for me. Sure, I loved all my friends and still miss them, but I had opportunities to go elsewhere. Got married, moved to Philadelphia, so that was when it sort of became label focused because the store wasn't there to distract.
Okay.
And for a while, I mean, in the early days, the store supported the label financially for sure,
Hmm.
but it started to be the other way around towards the end of the store, where the store wasn't really doing very well. People were buying stuff online and streaming and all this other stuff.
Right.
And and then the label was sometimes floating the store, so that wasn't working for me.
Okay. And so
I
you moved
forget what
to
the question was now. Oh
no,
yeah,
well,
so
you
then
moved you moved to Philly from Baltimore originally,
right.
and
And
then
I was
and
there
but
for
now
a
you've
couple of
moved.
years. Yeah, there for a few years, and then moved down to Texas. And
Why
I'm
Texas?
well. my wife at the time's family was down here, and I figured I could run my label from anywhere, and that Austin was a music town.
Hmm.
So why not? I wanted to get out of the city. I wanted to get out of after being in Baltimore and Philadelphia for my whole life, between those two cities. I was ready to be done with that. So I'm like almost an hour outside of Austin. I'm out in the sticks.
Oh yeah.
I live down
Wow.
a dirt road, the Reptilian compound.
Wow. Crazy,
Yeah,
huh?
it's wonderful. I love it.
That sounds cool, man. I mean, like, I was just down there recently for No Coast Fest, and I've been there like one other time before, many years ago. It's an interesting city, Austin in particular. I did a little bit of touring in Texas, so I kind of saw a few other cities, but it's a weird state. I mean,
It
not
is,
saying
and
that. Yeah,
it's so huge, and there's so many places that are so different. It's like its own country, really,
yeah. Well,
which is
I
a
think
pretty good idea that a lot of Texans are having right about now.
I think they've had it for a long time. I don't think that's new.
Yes, I think so. I've
Yeah.
met a lot of good people down here and made a lot of good friends.
Cool, man.
Certainly, when I do go into town, I seem to meet a lot of people who aren't really from Texas. But when I'm out in the country where I live, of course, I'm meeting the Texans. And I've
Hmm.
made good friends both places.
Cool. That's great. Good to hear. Yeah, I had a great time there, man. I mean, I had no problems at all. I mean, I felt very welcoming everywhere we went.
Yeah, and there's great bands and there's live music all the time. So
Yeah,
whatever kind of music you like, there's some band playing it somewhere. So
I'm sure
it's
of it.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Great place to be, man. Well, that's very super cool, man. So I was saying how, we had some things in common. Typically here with this show, when I speak to an artist, let me start there. Now you're obviously a huge music fan. Have you ever been in a band, or are you a musician?
I don't think I can legitimately claim those things. I was in a band that practiced a lot but never actually played a show before it sort of devolved into just a reason to get together and do drugs.
Hmm.
That was a very long time ago, but yeah, I can't legitimately claim that. And I messed around playing drums as a teenager, but again, I never owned a drum set of my own, so I can't really claim that
Oh,
either. But that
okay.
was another thing, was to be involved in music, even though I myself wasn't a musician. I figured being a facilitator, you know,
Yeah.
a patron of the arts.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then, so not really a musician, didn't really get into music as far as making it was concerned. So, what was like your inspiration to start the record store?
um, Access to records. I
Yeah.
mean, basically, because I could, that way I could feed my hunger for new music all the time. When you got distributors from all over the world hitting you up trying to sell you stuff, you get introduced to so much new stuff constantly.
Right.
Um, that that and the fact that, I don't know, I had worked at a comic book store, so I knew about like running a small store and building a good client base and all that kind of stuff. And I'd hung out at a punk rock store all the time, so I sort of married the ideas and had a record and comic shop at the beginning. But after several years, it became just records.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
guess it was a way to make money and off of what I loved to do anyway, which was searching for new music. And I was very adamant that my store didn't carry anything that you could get down the road at the other record store. We didn't carry, the only major label stuff in the store was the Clash and the Sex Pistols and the Dead Boys. You know,
Yeah.
um, everything was independent or import stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool. Sounds like a
you
great
couldn't
store.
really, yeah, you couldn't really do what I did right now, I don't think. But
Yeah, there was a few places like that. I mean, like even here in Rhode Island, where I'm from, in Providence, there was like a Contrast Records, I think, was the big one. Well, I mean, not big because it wasn't fucking big, but the place to go to for obscure kind of like underground music, whether it was punk
Yeah.
or hardcore or thrash or whatever, you know. And not a successful business by any means. I mean, the people that did that store, I believe, went on to do other things such as like Tor Johnson Records and Armageddon Records, and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I think, and that was, you know, early 90s, like maybe late 80s, early 90s that
Yep.
store was around. So
Same
I would
time. Same
imagine,
thing.
yeah, nationwide, there was probably those type of stores in like most every city.
But again, this goes back to what I was saying about not being a great businessman necessarily. Like, if I
Yeah.
was carrying the Rolling Stones and Pink Floyd, maybe I would have made some more money. If I had Alice in Chains in my store and Corn,
Mhm.
I'm sure that it would have been easier to pay the rent. But you could get them at any other record store.
Right.
So the small amount of capital that I had and cash flow that I had to invest in stock for the shop, I didn't want to use it on what you could get everywhere else.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, because then you're just competing with everybody else too. I mean, like, how much money can you really make on a record that like everybody else is, turning over pretty quickly?
Yeah, you
Because I
can't. A little guy can't compete with a corporate store. So if it's a major label thing in a corporate store, they can obviously sell it for dollars cheaper than I could have. So
right.
gave me a reason to concentrate on independent stuff, and I tried to deal direct with as many labels as I could back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so now again, when I usually talk to people on this show, it's usually about an album that was influential to them to, to help create their art. In this case, I know you wanted to forego the record, and that's totally fine. But I did want to chew your brain a little bit about it, being like, like what was some of the music that really kind of like turned you on when you were a young person?
That's the thing is that I mean, I grew up with young hippie-ish parents. So like my mom was really into Beatles and Bowie and T-Rex, and my dad was listening to lots of Stones and Hendrix. And
Hmm.
so I mean I grew up on the rock and roll stuff, and pretty much just liked everything as a kid. And I watched the Monkees on TV. I'm an old guy.
I
Um,
watched the Monkees too. Those reruns.
but I guess the thing that really got me into stuff like was when I discovered like punk rock, and then strangely enough, hanging out with some punk rockers got turned on to some more old stuff that I'd never heard, like Stooges and MC5.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, if that's one of my desert island records would be Stooges Funhouse. But how many people have said stuff like that on podcasts? So
Oh
I
my
didn't want
God.
to.
You know how many times I've had to turn people down being like, no, I've already done that record. Can't do it.
Yeah,
Like
that's
every
what I'm
other person.
saying. So I was like, yeah, well, there's that, and then like later on, when what really got me with noise rock stuff was, I guess, the first things that I got when I ordered them from my store were like Halo of Flies and Cows 7 inches, and
Okay.
it was the Cows Chow 7 inch and Halo of Flies No Time, and I sold them. I played them, listened to them. I was like, oh, that's weird. It's pretty noisy. Sold them to some guy. Weeks later, I'm at his house hanging out. We're listening to records and hanging out with a couple of people. And I'm like, what is this you're listening to? And he's like, oh, this is that single I got from you, Halo of Flies. And I was like, yeah, can I buy that back? I think I
Not a
need to
good
have
business
this.
model.
Yeah, and then like the Unsane's first record. I mean, that's something I would have picked as a desert island record.
Okay, that's cool.
And
That would have been
Scattered,
nice.
Smothered, and Covered is kind of a tie with Unsane, those two records, because they sort of mark the two different bands, really.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Say
Um,
that. Say that second record again.
Scattered, Smothered, and Covered by the Unsane.
Oh, okay.
That was their first one on AMREP.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. There's so many. Like I sat and looked at my record collection and tried to think which ones were the top ones, and I couldn't really tell you.
Yeah. So you have like your own personal record collection?
Oh yes, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, having a store, why wouldn't you?
Well, so that's the thing for me. Like, I just see it like selling records for me is just like, what do I call that? Oh man, I can't think of the word anymore right now.
Well, see, this is that business versus fan club thing. If as a businessman, if I looked at how much my records were worth, sure, I'd be selling off my collection.
Well, see,
But
because I sold off my collection twice as a young person before I was getting into selling records at all. Like I got into this game late. I got into this game like just a few years ago, and I'm like 42 now. So it was just, it was
yeah, I
all
was
just like
21
happened.
when I started the store.
Right, right. See, so I mean, you got a huge like leg up on me, man, as far as like when you started and kind of like, and now having obviously this like legacy, these like decades in of doing it. But for me, I was just like, I sold off my record collection like twice before I got into selling records, just because I needed money. I was just like, fuck, I'm broke. Let me just have a yard sale and just get rid of this stuff. And and so
Yeah,
then
I've
so
let
I
some things
lost.
go.
Right, right, and so I lost my like my heart on for collecting music, because I was just like, well, I'm not gonna build that up again just to fucking sell it again, So I'm just gonna, if I find records or whatever that are cool and I can flip for a profit, then fine, I'll flip them. And then that's kind of how I got started in my business, where it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna start selling records. Like it doesn't really like, yeah, this is a cool record. It's great for me to foster them, is what I was gonna say. So I
I
just,
get you.
I get records and I listen to them and I clean them, I take care of them, and then if they're good, I'll be like, okay, well, like I can sell this, so let me list it and have somebody else buy it and give it a good home, and that's fine. I've got to listen to it, got to like cherish it for a little while, and it moves
Yes.
on.
No, I understand that's like the current model, and I get that, and I don't have any problem with that. Anybody who wants to do that, but for me, I mean, if I've let go of some things in the past and then regretted it a couple of years later, and
Yeah,
yeah, now it's a little easier to refine everything you want. But again, things cost so much. I'm like, what?
right.
I mean, even if I wanted that, I wouldn't pay that much money for it. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah, no, I know, man.
that's when I stopped selling my personal stuff and I just sit on it. It's mine. I listen to it. I keep it. I don't view them as valuable. I view them as my records. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
no, that's fine. I mean, I understand. I lost
but
that kind of mentality, that fuck, I'm forgetting my words tonight. The
the
like the
flippers,
no, just like I lost the
the
desire to want.
archivists.
I lost the desire to collect. Like I just didn't want to hold on to things anymore. I'm just like, hey, like let me just try, like just keep it as light as possible. Like these records come to me, fine, great. But let me
Yeah.
just let them move on, because I don't want to like hold on to stuff anyway. It's like, and my collection's building anyway, because like I keep on buying records from like bands that I know and like, and so forth, and those are things that I don't sell. Those are, yeah, I guess, so I am building a collection again, but it's very slow, and it's just basically bands that I know personally, that I end up talking to on the show. I'll buy their records, and so forth. So I don't know. That's just how
Well,
I'm
as
doing
a
it now.
person who's currently trying to move, I can assure you that you're probably doing it the right way, and I'm doing it the wrong way. Because
No.
moving my record collection is killing me.
Oh, I
But
bet. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure that there'll probably come a day when I'm like, okay, I don't really care about these anymore. I can sell them now. But
Yeah.
for right
Yeah.
now, I'm still like regretting a few that I let go. So I'm still hanging on.
All right,
But
man. That's
I'm not really a collector anymore in that I don't go on Discogs and buy stuff. And I don't really, if I go to record stores, I might be looking for something that's a new thing that came out in the past couple of years. But
yeah.
I'm not like a collector who needs to have every color. I used to be. I mean, when it comes to 90s records, I've got every pressing in every color and promo poster tucked in and all that kind of stuff, but I don't do that anymore.
Oh, okay. Huh. That's cool. Yeah, it's all about the hunt, right? That's what some people tell me, is it's like it's not about like having a list of things that I need and that I want. I go out and I look in the stores and crates and whatever, and if it's there and I find it, then awesome, great day.
Well, that takes me back to why I do the label, which is that it's more of a hunt for new music than it is necessarily for a record for me.
Yeah,
So, of course,
but
yeah, when I find a new band that I like a lot, I make a record. So I guess I do want their record.
yeah. All right. Well, that's cool.
You got me.
Um, So now, so that was one of the things I wanted to ask you, was that I'm not sure if maybe this is a little redundant, but I mean, so I was kind of telling you how I kind of got into selling records. It was just, I actually got, just on a whim, went out and found like I was at a Salvation Army, and I was just looking through the records, not no intention in my mind at all. And this girl sees me looking through records. She's just like, "You like records?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." She's just like, "We have like a few boxes back here full of records. Do you want to look at them?" It's like, "Sure." It's like, "You don't mind pulling them out?" She's
Oh
just
yeah.
like, "No." She pulled out like three or four massive totes for me, and I'm like starting to go through them, and I'm just like immediately just finding like fucking incredible things, like just like Ramones Mania, Double LP, Dead Kennedys, a couple of Dead Kennedys records, Bedtime for Democracy, um, Beastie Boys, Check Your Head, a bunch of old Led Zeppelin, Prince, fucking just fucking tons of shit. And I was just like, what? What do you? How do you want to sell this? She's just like, it's just like $1 a piece. Every record's $1 in here, so just take everyone for $1. I'm like, okay. So I
I'll
just
take
grabbed
them
like
all.
I almost wanted to take them all, but that's the thing. It's like I wasn't selling at the time. So I wasn't thinking that. I was just like, well, how much money do I have in my pocket and how much do I really want these? Like because I knew they were great
Right.
and I knew that I would cherish them no matter what. I didn't have the intention in my mind to sell the records. But like when I got them home and I'm just like, holy fuck, I just spent $36. I have 36 records and they're all like great records. Buckingham Nicks, fucking some other weird random things. I can't remember what was in there. Uh, what's Rory Gallagher's band? What was that band's name?
I don't remember.
The something. Ah, shit, I can't remember. But I had a couple. I had some of that. It was just like, and so then I ended up like looking them up, being like, what, how much are these worth? And it's just like some of them were like, ridiculous amounts of money, like $40, $50. I'm just like, this almost makes too much sense to just sell these and just make back my money and plus some,
Yeah.
and that's how it happened for me. So I mean, like, what was like, how did it happen for you? I mean, I know that you went to school, you were saying, and you were, you worked at the distribution label. Was that it? Was that just kind of the whole thing?
I think it was mainly just hanging out at record stores. There was a
Okay.
bunch of good stores in Philadelphia back then, like five different stores where you could go and definitely find some great stuff. So
Yeah.
just, record exchange kind of stuff where it's just all these records and people are buying and selling records. And I mean, I'd spend hours hanging out there. I was like, yeah, I think this is what I want to do because,
Hmm.
you get to see all this music running in front of your face all the time. Somebody
Right.
brings
Right.
in a collection.
So there was
It
no
was
no
it was
there was
just
no
great out there.
thrill. There was no thrill to the sale to aspect for you.
No, I'm not really a great salesman. I mean, I guess I'm an okay salesman. I'll say that, but I'm
Yeah.
not. It's not about the business aspect. I mean, I was always in trouble for not charging sales tax, and I always gave everyone a discount. I was like, oh, you're my friend. Here's $2 off.
Right.
And then later, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't make any money because I just gave it all away, and the
Right.
sales tax people are breathing down my neck. So
Oh
no,
yeah.
it's never been about the business aspect of it, really. I mean, the buying and selling is only interesting because of the new music passing in front of my face.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Okay. That's totally fine, man. Just like we're
yeah,
all different, it's like everyone's story is
I
is
wish I
is
was
different.
wired the other way because I'd have a bunch of money.
I hear you, man. I mean, I see your catalog. I'm just like, how can you
Every
not
penny
have
I
money?
get, yeah, and every penny I get, I throw at a record anyway. I'm like, okay, great, I've got another couple $100. I'm almost ready to put this next record out.
Right.
So that's
Yeah. Well, so and how is that going for you? It this year in particular, it seems to be a pretty big year for you and Reptilian. I mean, I can think of like what, four records at least that you have out like right now.
yeah, this year was a record-setting year. Get it, records. So, yeah, I pressed like 18 things this year.
18
Now, I think
already?
I think I think six of them, five or six. I'm not looking at everything right now, but five or six were brand new records by brand new bands, and
Yeah.
then like eight of them were old things reissued, like things that in the '90s that I put out on CD that never had vinyl, like
Oh,
Thrall,
okay.
and
Right.
Lubricated Goat and this band Blank, and there was a handful that were, first time on vinyl, and then there was a handful that were just repressings, like some more Super Suckers represses and Easy Action represses.
Hmm.
But still, it was 18 orders at the record pressing plant this year, and
Wow.
that's more than I've ever done before. But releasing my old back catalog on vinyl for the first time was great, and I knew people would want that on vinyl. We've been wanting it since the '90s, so that helped facilitate the newer bands, the gambles.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's all great.
And for these gambles, I mean, they're pretty good stuff. I've been listening to Salvation to Mock, and
Yes,
I don't see them on this list here, but what was the name of that band?
Desperate Living was the other recent one, and
Yeah, Desperate Living.
Prayer
Right, right.
Group from earlier in the year.
Yeah, so
It's a
so much good
killer
stuff,
record.
man.
Yes,
So how did you
Sinking
find these
Suns.
bands?
Um, Desperate Living. I've known some of those guys for a while. They were in other bands like Ladder Devils and the Minor Times and Legendary Divorce, another band that I put out. Two of the guys were in that band. So
Hmm.
I mean, they've been on my radar. Just anything those guys do is pretty much great. So that's how I knew about them. Salvation, I didn't really know about until I saw them play at No Coast last year, and immediately was like, "Wow, these guys are fucking killer!" And they hit me up saying, "Hey, we have some stuff recorded," and I was like, "Yes, yes." I was meaning to get in touch with you anyway, so that was killer. Prayer Group. How did I find that band? I think I was turned on to them maybe from Jeff of Horries. He scours Bandcamp for great new talent all the time for the No Coast Fest, and I can't remember if he turned me onto that band or if they approached me. A couple bands I've heard about have been through him.
Hmm. Okay. That's a pretty great resource. I mean, Jeff is one of
Yes,
those people that obviously is also looking for the best, greatest new thing too.
yeah, and every band he's put out, every band he's been in has been great too. So I'm glad to work closely with him on that.
Yeah, and now you're practically neighbors, so I can imagine that will be going happening even more now.
Yes,
That's great, man. Um, well, I'd like to congratulate you. I mean, what you're doing is amazing. Especially this record-breaking year. I mean, I didn't realize that you had already, or at least, have 18 records in the works to be released. I imagine, well, actually, considering the time of the year, most of those for next year's release, but even these few new ones that just came out recently, Desperate Living, Salvation. I spoke with Daniel Kelly from Moral Panic recently, and that's a great record. Like,
yes,
so much good stuff, man.
yes. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I can't.
I've branched out in how I approach some of it. Like some of the releases were four things I did this year were split label releases where I worked with other record labels.
Hmm.
And the Moral Panic one we did with Alien Snatch out of Germany. So half those records are in Europe and half of them are here on Reptilian.
Yeah.
And then I worked with Bobby from The Ghost is Clear, which is a great underground noise rock, hardcore, I
Yep.
don't know, noise label. They're great, great stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he
I
and I
wanted
have
to.
very similar tastes, so we've been crossing over on some releases, and we got some stuff in the works too.
That's great. I was actually meaning to ask you about that because I was doing some research about some of the bands that you've had and some of the releases that you've put out, and I noticed that you had been kind of, or at least in the past, and obviously still currently, you have done some kind of collaboration between labels. Um, what is the benefit? Like, what do you see as the benefit to doing that?
Well, early on, I mean, a lot of stuff that I put out, it was by a band that was on another label, like doing a Dwarves 7 inch and a Dwarves record, or doing a Super Suckers record, or some of the later AMREP band stuff, like working with Thrall and all that. It was like you guys, I, if you're on three different labels, that's great. That helps all three labels sell their releases. three people who are pushing your band outside of the band
Hmm.
themselves. It's not a bad thing to spread that around. And then working with other labels is sort of new, but how that came about was just, hey, you want to do this?
Just asking the
Or
label.
it's, yeah, and there's bands who sort of they found that if they can't find a label who's willing to sink enough money into them, because as you say, it costs money to press records.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't find a label who's ready to gamble on them, they might be able to find a couple of labels who can gamble a little bit on them. It's sort of a hardcore formula. A lot of hardcore and punk bands, I mean, like crust bands, would be on
Right.
like five different record labels. There'd be five logos on the back of their 7-inch,
Yeah, yeah.
because five different dudes could come up with $300. You know what I mean? But nobody had 1,500 themselves. So it was sort of grew out of that, I guess. And just if a band, I don't know, we're kind of sharing the bands, which I
Hmm.
think is great. I think it's more exposure for the bands. It's more exposure for the labels. I mean, for me to be working with The Ghost is Clear, they're a new, current, younger generation of record label. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sort of an old dinosaur. Get it? But so it was good to to work with some of the young energy, because I still feel that way. I'm still excited about bands, and Bobby and I would get excited about a band, but neither one of us necessarily could do it ourselves. So it was like, well, let's just do this together. Makes sense. Why not?
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's all about just kind of helping each other out and helping out the band. Really, there's no other kind of motivation behind that, huh?
Yeah, there's no real downside to it. Um,
Hmm.
I'm putting up less money, so I can do more things. We could do more projects if we like share them. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And
I
then
couldn't
the
have done
people.
those four releases by myself. So mixing them up with other guys and then having them also pushing it at the same time that you are, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. And from my perspective, I'm a slightly younger person. I remember the first thing that I ever saw that had multiple labels on it was Nirvana. Like because when they came out with Bleach, I mean, Nevermind. I remember that they were on Geffen. I didn't know what the fuck a record label was really. I was just
Uh-huh.
like, well, yeah, this is the company that owns them and that kind of puts their
Right.
stuff out, whatever. But there was two labels, and there was Geffen and there was Sub Pop. And
Yes.
as a consumer and as a fan of the band, I was just like, what is this? And I remember going into, looking into Sub Pop the best that I could at the time in the 90s and being like, oh, okay, they're a record label and they release stuff too. Like that's cool. And, obviously got into some of the bands that they put out and, became a fan of the label kind of. Is that kind of one of the things that you look forward to or hope to kind of explore when you collaborate with another label?
Yeah, because I figure at least the labels that I work with have the same, if even if it's not the same necessarily sound or whatever, they have the same ethics about how and why they're doing it, I guess.
Right.
And if they're fans, and mostly I guess there's the sound is there too. Like if you're a fan of the stuff that Bobby puts out, you're probably gonna like at least half of what I'm putting out, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, you guys are close, kind of close kins, if you want to put it that way.
yeah, and same thing with Learning Curve. Like we decided amongst us, like noise rock labels, Hex and Learning Curve and Bobby and myself, that it's not really a competition.
Right.
And there is a little bit of not exactly fighting over bands, but we might all get the demo at the same time. You know what I mean? From some bands,
Yeah.
and a few conversations have been like, yeah, I was gonna do that chat pile, but then I saw you got it, or I was gonna do that nerver thing, but you got that. And it was like, well,
Right,
hey, why
right.
don't we share? So
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's and the band probably likes that too, right? If they're like, "Hey, we
yeah,
sent
it
our
helps the band either way. They're gonna get their whatever their deal is. They're gonna get the same thing, but they're gonna have, like I said, the apparatus of four more machines behind them instead of
Right, right.
just one.
I wasn't even
Or
thinking
some
about that, how
locations.
like bands will shop their own demo a lot of the times to the labels that they want to be on, the ones that they know about, that they think that they might even have a chance on, you know? So
Yeah,
that's
you know,
pretty interesting.
that might have been how I heard Prayer Group, because definitely there's a good chunk of my stuff that I put out that has been like just some random band mails it to me. Like, hey, check us out. What do you think? And I'm like, holy crap, yes.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And then there's some that I'm like, yeah, this is good. Let me hear when you do your next record too. If they make some progress, I hear potential, but
Right.
and
Or
a
like
few things I've done, people they come at me with like 4 or 5 songs, like, "Hey, we've got this great EP." I'm like, "Yeah, this is really killer, but if you give me like 3 more songs, it's an album.
right,
It,
right.
it, it costs the same to press an album as it does to press an EP, so it's
I'm
you
learning.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's a pain. That's a real pain because like the Desperate Living EP that I just put out, it's a one-sided 12-inch, and it's sort of
Yeah.
a concept with the song titles and the lyrics, so that all kind of had to be on one side. Because initially I thought about doing it as a 10-inch, but it kind of
Yeah.
all needs to flow. It's like one thing, so it needed to be like that. But it
Yeah.
costs the same to press that as it does to press just a regular
Right.
record.
Right.
Doesn't
Right.
matter how long it is; it costs the same to press it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Even the
always
10 inch.
urge
I
the
mean, the 10
bands to
inch
give
would
me more.
essentially cost you the same as a 12 inch, you know?
Yeah, you really only save a couple $100 maybe, and
Yeah. Mm.
most of your savings is just in the shipping
Jesus.
because
Yeah.
it's lighter to send you 1,000 of those. So
Huh. Yeah. It's a wild, wild business. I mean, it's not for the weak of heart. I'll tell you that much.
no.
So, let me ask you a couple more things, and then I'll get you out of here. Okay. There's something that I was thinking about. I was looking over your catalog, and obviously you've been in this business for almost 20 years now. And you've been able to work with some really notable artists. Like Super Suckers, Dwarves, The Upper Crust. Um, is there anyone that's currently on your wish list?
Um, well, first, I hate to be correcting you, but Reptilian has existed for 33 years, and I've put out records for 26 or 7 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, please correct
but
me. I mean, I'm only going off of what I can see, like through Discogs and
right,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. I guess a lot of the early stuff's gone or out of print. So, anybody on my wish list? Well, I mean, any band that I love, I would love to do a record by them. I would instantly say yes to the Cherubs. I would instantly say yes to more Chat Pile. I would instantly say yes to. Let's see who's still around that's any good. um, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't really get a band that's on a big label to step down necessarily to Reptilian level, but
Hmm.
there's
Is that another pun?
yes. I don't know. I mean, there's bands I want to work with, but I don't know that there's any big ones that are on a wish list necessarily. I mean, if I could bring back a band from the dead and put out their record, like bring back Steel Pole Bathtub and do a record by them, sure, in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
but
Well, what about that? What
I'm
about the
more looking for.
reissue game? Have you, I mean, obviously you've been reissuing some of your own things. Are you into the possibility of reissuing records that are currently out of print that you love?
There's one or two more of my own catalog that I may do, and I would do things that I thought made sense. Um, I don't know. I don't know how many bands I want to mention, but
Okay.
like, okay, the band Slug, I would love to reissue all of their stuff. Um, that's the top of the list, I guess. If I was on the reissue game,
Yeah. Weird.
I don't need to reissue AmRep stuff because he's reissuing it himself with new covers, which is
Yeah.
amazing and awesome,
Right.
incredible stuff, and I'm glad he's doing that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't turn down if things were offered to me necessarily. Like, I mean, if a band came and said, "Hey, would you want to reissue my record?" If it was something that made sense, I probably would do it. But it's not
Hmm.
on the forefront of my mind. I'm still more looking for new stuff.
Okay, that's fine. Cool, man. And so, speaking of, like, what is your criteria? I mean, aside from just being a fan, I guess. I mean, is there anything else that you think about when before you say yes to somebody?
Um, let's see. I'd say there's a nice chunk of stuff I've put out that I wasn't necessarily a fan of. So I can admit that there are some that I put out not for fan reasons,
Hmm.
and but I'm not naming any names on that.
No problem. That's fine.
But let's see. What exactly was the question again? I'm sorry.
What's the criteria for or like
Oh, the
what?
criteria
Yeah.
besides being a fan. Fan is the main thing. If I personally really like it, then I want to put it out.
Right.
Other
But
than
the
that, if I think that a band, if I see potential for them to get bigger, if I see potential for them to grow, then I like to be a label where a band does their first record or two, then they can go get famous. You know
hmm
what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be great if that happened more often. I did the first Mastodon 7 inch, but they instantly signed a relapse after that. So it's like, let me have your first record or two and then you can go get famous.
And that's
Um,
exactly what happened, right?
that happened with Chat Pile for sure. And I'm very happy about that. Happy for them
Yeah.
that they're getting so much attention, so much success like worldwide. It's kind of phenomenal. Um, so yeah, I mean, if I see a band that I think has that potential, I really didn't expect it with Chat Pile. Honestly, I'm really, really excited about them. But
Hmm.
um, the criteria, I don't know. It's a combination of if I think it's good or if I think they're doing something interesting or different. And if I see that they mean it and they're going to keep doing it. Like you can tell with some people, there's some young people in bands right now that I've seen where I can tell that they're hungry to do it and they're going to keep doing it. And this might be their third band and they're not giving up. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
getting better and they're earning their place basically. And if I see that in a band, that's even if I personally am not a huge fan of it, if I see that they mean it and that they're serious about doing it, then I can support that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say there's not really a criteria or a checklist. I'll do odd things like you can't really compare bands like the Upper Crust as you mentioned with Page 99. You know what I mean? I'll do very disparate things that they don't have to necessarily meet a sound similarity criteria.
Right, right. But I didn't know if you were like considering numbers, being like, oh, well, what's your fan base like? If you're like, if you have to go see them live and like make sure that they can fill the room, something like that.
I want to see them live to see what I think of their live performance. I don't care if the room is empty. If I see a band live, it's about how they make me feel when I see them play. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
music is very visceral, physical thing for me with seeing bands live. When I had my shop in Baltimore, there was this club called Memory Lane, and there was shows pretty much every night, and I was there pretty much every night, like just seeing bands whether I liked them or not.
Hmm.
And so I like to see them more about seeing their performance than seeing them pack a room. There are some bands that I've worked with or that I'm looking at where, yeah, I do look at their band camp and see how much attention it's getting. And if it's getting a lot, well, that's a good sign. But if it's not getting a lot, that doesn't mean anything really. That might just mean that nobody else has caught on or heard them yet.
Right.
So it's not a criteria that has to be met necessarily, but I guess it's a factor that I do look at.
Yeah.
But I've definitely taken on some projects where I was a band that barely played out and didn't have any press and nobody knew who they were. But either I thought it needed to be documented or I just thought people would like it if they heard it, if they could get it out there. So
Yeah. So you're a nurturer.
I'm
No, I'm
an
serious. I mean,
enabler. I think
an
it's more of
enabler.
an
Okay.
enabler
All
thing
right.
than a nurturer.
Fair. Fair. No, that's I mean, I love it. I think that's great. I mean, because I think that too many people get into the business for the wrong reasons, really. I feel like
Yeah.
today's standards, like for young people especially, is just like their head is in the game for the wrong reason. It's just it's not about like making art. It's not about like trying to push boundaries. It's not trying to be about doing anything different or exciting. It's just about like, oh, I can get something to be viral and I'll fucking be famous and that'll be awesome. You know?
Right. Yeah, but I see and hear some bands where I can tell that they're doing it because they have to. Like the music
Right.
is like their exorcism. It's like their release. They have to be doing it, and I can't see them doing anything else with as much passion. Really, like there's
Right.
this new stuff I'm doing next year. There's this band from New York called the Cronies, and everyone
Okay.
should go to Bandcamp right now and listen to everything put out by the Cronies. But they're an amazing band. They're amazing guys. They're young guys who music is their life, and music, art, film. They're into all of it, and they're doing multiple things, multiple projects. But yeah, I'm really stoked on people like that. People that are, they listen to a lot of different kinds of music, and you can hear that in their music. But you can also definitely hear a love of '90s AmRep Sub Pop era stuff.
Hmm.
Like they're definitely a noise rock in a classic sense type band, I guess. But those guys and another New York band called the Venus Twins. It's
Oh yeah.
yeah, two twin brothers. Did you see them at No Coast?
I didn't because I wasn't there that day, but I've listened to them and I checked in on them because it was one of the bands that I was going to approach about actually even doing the show.
Yeah, that is some wild energy coming from those brothers. They are great, and people should check them out too. I'm looking forward to working with them next year as well.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Yeah, because they were good. I mean, I listened to I think they have like what, two records on Bandcamp or two like EPs or
Yeah, they got a
demos or
bunch. I
something.
mean, a lot of it's EPs or singles, but there's a lot of
Right.
content on their Bandcamp for
Cool.
sure.
All right. That sounds great, man. So now one more thing I wanted to ask you before we get ready to go. We've been talking. I feel like I've asked you about some of the bands you put out and why and so forth and kind of like business aspects of being a label. And it made me wonder what, like, as a record label and you approach these bands about putting out their music, what what kind of like incentive do you offer to the band to have you put their record out?
Um, I guess if I was listing qualities to the band of why why you should date me, um, I guess I mean I've got fairly good distribution.
Yeah.
I've got a reputation and people a little bit of name recognition, brand recognition, I guess.
I mean,
I
do you
don't
think
know
that
how
even
much of
comes
it, but
up like when you
that
talk to bands? Like, do you even think that comes up with them? Like, do they ask you these questions? It's like, well, why should we put our record out with you?
mm, I haven't really gotten questions like that. No,
Okay.
I mean we sit down and hash out a deal, but the initial thing, initially, most of the bands I've talked to have heard of my record label. So when I approach them, they like the idea.
Yeah.
And if they haven't heard of my record label, then I mention other bands that I've worked with, so that they kind of get an idea. And then if they were to want to know, why they should do it, I don't know. I'll treat them fair, and I've got fairly good distribution, and I believe in what I put out, so I try to push it. And I don't know. I don't
Hmm.
know exactly what I would say to that question.
Yeah. I mean,
But I
it's
mean,
it's no
financial incentives, and that's the business aspect.
right, right.
That's you sit down and hash that out, whether they want money or whether they want records, which they can then sell for more money. Um, some bands want product, some bands want money. I guess it depends on if they're going to be touring and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess most bands, especially most bands that you work with, are touring acts usually, right? I mean, so they're always going to want the record that they just put out to have at a merch table. I mean, it doesn't make sense for a
Yeah,
band to
some of the
play.
bands obviously do better than others, but some of them like blow out of records when they're on tour. So they
Right.
make a lot more money that way than what I could just pay them. So
Right. Okay. Yeah, so that's funny. I mean, like, I have very little experience with labels and stuff as an artist. Um Here in Rhode Island in Providence, we there's been a few labels that I by people that I knew, like Ben McCosker from Load, and the bands that I know that I would speak with about, like, hey, who put this record out for you? Why? How was that? Why was that? And it was all pretty much the same thing. It was all like handshake deals. It was just like, no, we didn't really sign anything. We didn't sign a contract. They're not really giving us money, but they give us a handful of records, like a box full of records, and we sell those for whatever we want, and that's kind of like what we walk away with, and that's fine.
it really, yeah, and that's a lot of it. That's a lot of the way it works. But I mean, some of them, like a lot of the reissues that I put out where the bands are not touring, I would write them a check instead of giving them records. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing with the what you would offer bands, I mean, there's sort of a standard 17 to 25% deal, kind of. This seems to be industry standard these days, I guess. I don't know.
Mm.
At least in the circles I run in and talk to. So it sort of depends on how much each party puts into the project. I mean, it used to be the record label model was that the record label pays for the recording and then owns the masters and owns the record, and the band doesn't own their music anymore. The record label does.
Right.
But that's shifted a lot and over the years, and I don't really necessarily operate that way anymore at all. It's like basically I'm licensing it from the band. It's like, okay, well, because they usually come to me with a record. Like, here, I have this record. I've already made this record. I've already recorded it. I'm like,
Right.
okay, well, I'll get it mastered. I'll get some bells and whistles, pretty the thing up. We'll pay for some artwork. We'll get it all laid out nice and all that. And, you work out your percentage deals off of that sort of thing. But my usual handshake deal is, hey, let me be the person who quote unquote owns this record until I don't want to make any more. Like, if I'm not going to press another pressing and
Yeah.
you want more of them and I don't want to make them and some other label wants to make them, then sure, it's yours. Take
Yeah.
it back and give it to them. But if I'm willing to keep going, let me keep it and I'll keep going and I'll keep giving you your cut forever. And
Right.
we'll just keep making records together.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
it's I had contracts for a little while. Um, Now it's more like, I guess, what this LA guy called a deal memo, where you just kind of write up your agreement for each other, but it's not like you all sit down and get it notarized and have a lawyer look it over. It's more like, hey, I'm going to do this and you're going to do this, and we agree. Sign
right.
here, or just shake hands. So
Yeah. Right. Pretty
it's
cool,
bitten
man.
me in the butt maybe two or three times, but after putting out 160 records, two or three bites on the butt are expected.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah,
Not bad, man. You're doing good work.
I'm trying.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we're all trying, but I mean, but honestly, I mean, 26 years of putting out records is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's impressive, and then you're still doing it, and despite the current fucking debacle that is trying to make records in the first place, you know,
Yeah.
you're still able to do it. You're still doing it, and that's incredibly admirable.
A few times I've wanted to stop, but then it's like, well, I don't really A, know how to do anything else, and B, want to do anything else.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I've done some construction. I helped build a house out here in the woods for somebody, which was a year of my life where I learned a lot and worked with my hands and
Learned you
made
didn't
enough
want to do
money
that
to
again.
press a couple. Nope, nope. Doing it once was great. I saw that project from beginning to end, and I feel good about it.
Yeah,
Don't need to do it again, but I do need to keep hearing new records and putting out new records. So
cool, man.
I'll do.
Well, that's great. Aside from a few of the bands that we talked about recently, that some of the latest releases from Reptilian Records, is there anything else that we need to mention that I may have overlooked?
You mean more bands that we haven't named. I would like to
No,
name the band Sinking Suns. Sinking Suns, great record I put out. Great band. A lot of people don't know about them. They haven't really toured a lot. They're from Wisconsin. Cool dudes. Great band. Sinking Suns.
Dark Days is the
There's my
record.
plug for them. Or did you mean just any other topics we haven't covered?
Yeah, just anything else I mean, I'm happy to mention bands that you put out that people should hear, but yeah, I was just kind of thinking anything in general that I may have missed, because I mean, there's only so much information about you out there on the interwebs, you know. I mean, like there's a few things that I found that weren't record label related and so forth, and I was just like, okay, this isn't necessary.
Yeah, people don't need to go looking for information about me. They should just go to reptilianrecords.com. Don't worry about Chris X. Pay attention to the records instead.
Right.
Yes, I had rough times in my life, but it's a very different world I live in now.
Yeah, yeah.
But now my primary focus is, of course, the music and the records. But I just want to tell people they should go to my website because you can listen to everything. You can stream it all for free to see if you like it or not. I'm not asking you to go there and buy something. I'm
Oh,
telling you to
okay.
go there and you can listen for free. It's like Bandcamp. I mean, most of my catalog is on Bandcamp, but due to different agreements with different bands, we have different rights. So not everything is on Bandcamp, but you can listen
Oh.
to everything on reptilianrecords.com.
Oh,
Every
okay.
record, if you go to its page, it's streaming on that page. So
Nice. Okay, that's great.
all
I
there for free.
That's great then. Although now I will gear people in that direction, and I wish you the best of luck. Honestly, I mean, I'm looking forward to what's coming in 2023, considering you already have a bunch of shit lined up. Sounds great.
Yes, I'm excited. The future looks bright, you know, at least for putting out these records.
Yeah.
Outside of putting out records, the future looks pretty grim, but other than that, the records
Yeah.
look good.
Right.
Grim
Yeah.
times makes for good music and good art. So there you go.
There you go. Sounds good. All right, Chris. Well, thank you very much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. It's very great to get to know you a little bit better.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Final Envision is a Psychic Static production. Theme song written and performed by Jeff Robbins of 123 Astronaut.